What's up guys, I'm flukydev and I am making my dream game. An isometric shooter about defending your RV from enemies in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, completing quests and uncovering how you got there. Or at least that's what the game is supposed to be like one day. I started this project months ago and all you can really do at the moment is run around, kill enemies and explore the area. There are no objectives, no story and no real challenges. Heck, you can't even interact with the motorhome, even though the entire game is supposed to center around it. It just stands there without any purpose, while you, the player, run around and kill enemy after enemy with no direction or progression. I have to say, making games is purely a hobby of mine alongside many others. No one is forcing me to work full time on my projects. But with this game being my dream game, I was disappointed in myself, seeing so little progress after so many months. So I decided to quit. Okay, no, of course I didn't quit. Instead, I kicked into high gear to finally make the game playable as fast as possible. The game was still missing a gameplay loop, so my goals for this video were to make an interactive mission selector, procedural map generation and different kinds of objectives that the player would have to complete in various missions. And in order to focus on this efficiently, everything around the player needed to disappear for now. The enemies, the houses, the roads and the items. Just everything except the player and the RV. Those two are going to play an important role in the gameplay loop. In the previous version of the game, the RV acted as a base where you could store and craft items and do other crucial things. I had plans to reintroduce this feature to the new version, but for some reason I never did. Until now. I finally decided to change that and created a nice little interior for the RV. As you can see, it contains a text telling you to subscribe to the channel. Okay, it actually contains a table with some mysterious objects. A workbench, a pinboard, a backpack and a suitcase. All of these objects will be interactable and grant access to several game mechanics, such as crafting, researching or storage. This way I can avoid using boring main menus and other typical UI elements. Because some objects in the interior will be interactable, I spent some time making them appear as prominent as possible. There are bright spots highlighting things you can interact with, as well as a white border that appears around objects when you hover over them. I applied the same principle to any items on the ground as well, because I think it looks much better than the previous item highlights. Next up, I made the RV door interactable. Interacting with it now brings you inside the RV. This will be your base of operations, although none of the gameplay mechanics have been implemented yet. You can also leave the RV by clicking on the exit text, though that looked really ugly, so I added another door that you can click to leave instead. Anyway, as I said earlier, each of the objects inside will eventually represent a core game mechanic. For now I started with the pinboard because it's going to be the most important one. My idea was to let the player choose and start missions from the pinboard, each mission being represented by a pin on a map that's stuck to the board. I implemented this feature in a way that lets you choose from several missions on the map, while the most important information about the selected mission is displayed on the right side of the pinboard. From here you can start any available mission. This feature essentially replaces the boring level selection that most games use. The first thing that's going to happen when you start a new mission is that a map gets generated, so I had to implement the map generation system next. We already had some streets and houses to use, so I could focus on the generation algorithm straight away, without worrying about making assets for the map. I set up a basic generation system using 11 different tiles with different road layouts. Once you start a mission, a random tile is placed in the center of the scene as the start tile. Every tile, including the start tile, can have up to 4 spawn points on its sides, depending on its road layout. If a road leads out of one side of the tile, a random tile with a compatible road layout is selected and placed adjacent to that side. Each tile also holds a set of coordinates, with the start tile being 0, 0. This algorithm is simple and straightforward, but it still took me quite a while to get it working properly. but now everything works as intended. Once the map generation was done, I made it so I could easily set the map size for each mission in the Unity editor. Then I connected the map generation with the mission selector. Now you can go into the RV, select the mission and start it. The game generates a map of the correct size and throws you out of the RV. Once you are out of the RV, the actual mission starts. Right now you can't do much else because none of the missions have objectives or goals yet. So obviously the next thing I needed to implement was objectives. I came up with a short list of objectives that I thought would fit the game nicely. Kill a certain number of enemies, find and collect a specific item, reach a target area, destroy a certain object in the map, and survive for a certain amount of time. This felt like a solid and fun starting list, and of course more can be added later. After making that list, I realized that the enemy spawn system would need to change depending on the current mission's objective. The old spawn system spawned enemies infinitely in progressively harder waves, which I had to set up manually. It was super complicated and not compatible with most of the new objectives. Some objectives require many enemies to spawn at once, while others need continuous spawning. So I wrote a new script that checks which objective is active as soon as a mission starts, and then it initiates the appropriate spawning algorithm. The continuous spawning still uses a wave system, but now spawns random groups of enemies without increasing the difficulty over time. This saved me many lines of code and removed the need to set up every wave by hand. After fixing the spawning system, it was finally time to implement the objectives. I will be honest, I was super unmotivated and kind of burnt out from game dev, so I took a small break at this point. If you ever wondered why this video is so late, that's the reason. After my little break, I came back super motivated but still dreading the objective system. Still, there was no way around it, so I forced myself to get it done. All I had to do was write code that checks whether the current objective is completed. For the kill all enemies objective, I just checked if all enemies had been spawned and if there were none left in the scene. Easy. The next two, finding a specific item and reaching a certain area, needed more work. I had to spawn the item or target area somewhere in the map, at a fair distance from the player's spawn point. Since my map generation system already uses its own coordinate system, I just let the game pick a random tile, converted its coordinates into world space and placed the item or target area there. The next objective was to destroy an object, but the game doesn't even have destruction mechanics yet, so I skipped it for now. I also added a simple text overlay that shows the current objective at the top of the screen, so the player always knows what's going on. That left me with the survive for X seconds objective. I just set up a countdown timer and once it hits 0, the objective is completed. Before you ask, no, nothing happens yet when you complete an objective. Usually a game would reward you at this point, but since that would require adding more items and an in-game currency system, I decided to leave it for the next devlog. As you can see, once you complete a mission, you can start a new one. This means that after months of development, the gameplay loop is finally done. Of course, some smaller features like dynamic mission generation and a reward system are still missing. As I mentioned, those mechanics will take a lot more work, and since this video is already running long, I will save all that for the next devlog. And just like that, I have covered everything I worked on in the game since last time, and I hope you are satisfied with the progress. Join my Discord server if you want access to playtest versions, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and want to see more. Have a great day and see you next time.